TheMGuy.com. This is John's reports for the 6th of August. And well, it was a soft day. We still made new highs, but faded back off of them, but didn't even come back into the previous up bar candle. So that was pretty solid. Still, orange still rising on DOC here, hasn't eclipsed the green, so it's still a go from a buy configuration. And now we're going to look to see how well it travels across the peak level here, still staying above the 33. Sort of like over here when we had the breakout. You maintain yourself in the higher levels and you just kind of go back and forth. And it literally is one of those every magenta dip you can buy and sell the pop, magenta dip, sell the pop, magenta dip, stayed flat. Then the next one was the pop up, and you just keep going there. Every time you get your magenta dip, you just take the buy and finish the next day up. So I actually may just run that one for you as a daily strategy just so you can see what it does because you can follow it across. As long as the magenta is over yellow and it does that, you can just keep following it. From here, you had the dip, so that was what, 563, and the next day, 591. Yeah. So it just keeps doing that as long as you're on the upside. As soon as you start to close below, well, then you get a different situation. You can say short that and boom, follow it further to the next one. And that's a much bigger move from 77. It's quite a ways. So um, worth looking at. From an NQ standpoint, you can see as we flipped around, the short cover rally, as we predicted, worked beautifully and really drove a lot of the momentum. Now, whether that's sustainable or not, different story. I mean, you can even look at the daily here. We've got positive extremes that are going to take us back at least to the 76.30 range again. And we saw a bunch of that within the intraday activity as well. So, that's pretty much normal. The debate on who is negotiating with who. The Iranians say they're negotiating with Oman. U.S. says that they're negotiating with Oman, but nobody's negotiating directly with U.S. and Iran. Uh, so yeah, there's that. 75. If they get into the 60s, then when they violate it, you can probably see the next round go through. But they're running late into the calendar, and he doesn't get this resolved before September, and people returning back to school and stuff like that. It's going to be an issue. So we'll just play that as it goes. From a euro standpoint, they just love the euro. The irony is that you just had the report from France of their deficits being a bit out of control. So you've got a potential growing Greece situation for France, the second strongest. You've got BMW as well as all the other automakers continuing to cut jobs in Germany. So it's an interesting one. So the only way out of that for them is spend more, borrow more. It makes a lot of sense. Not that the U.S. isn't doing the same, but they just think that the scale is less, so that makes it more beneficial. And not a surprise here. That was the final straw for the breakout of gold because the handwriting's on the wall on the devaluation, which is why the market's going up as well. You can see where the uh, food inflation that's about to take place will start to hit. Oil not having changed and the amount of goods flowing that are non-oil related still will have an impact, and it's not going to recover slowly. So Bitcoin is slow to react to this because, again, it has separate issues unrelated to what's going on with that. But when we turn to our 50K chart, we have that beautiful up run, but look at all those positive extremes. I mean, that just goes all the way back, to right around this range here. And then you really start the strong series of them right there around the 76.30 range, which not too big a shock. Filled in a few of them, not a whole lot. It was pretty modest from a fade standpoint. Testing those, around the 76, any weak hands, trying to raise their stops as they go, and they get triggered out on that one accordingly. Be interesting to see if our dip buy works the same. So you dip magenta is still above. Let's look at the price tag, 94, and then the pop-up 09. So usable, same situation here. There's the dip, 30, 37. It's just funny to see it. I've followed it for quite some time, and I use it for entries instead of buying on the crossover uptick. Wait for the first downtick and then enter from there. That's just the way I approached it. But anyway, it's a valid one. From a 5K standpoint, post market is pretty flat. You can see most of that dip took place at the end in post market, and that did make the new lows. But from the broader intraday, you had a fairly interesting decline working with these setups here, because we get these turnaround configurations, and it's a matter of adjusting what we have from a reading standpoint. Like this one particularly kind of bothers me, because you're outside the range where orange has already moved past the green. Green has not crossed over cyan, and that, so I have to find out why in the code that flips from there. I understand from the gold setup, but it should maintain that green all the way until the cell configuration takes place. So, these are the things. It's always, little squirrely items in the program that you have to get ironed out. And once you get those squared away, when you finally get to the real configurations and the buy setups. Of course, this was interesting because you have a buy setup, it really just didn't go anywhere. It was just a sideways trade. I think even from that signaling level of the orange, 63, what was the high? It went up to maybe 74. So it pretty much did nothing, and it just bounced in between. So it's like one of those dead break even, but I think I would want it to be consistent color all the way across. If it's not going to change range, particularly once over the 50%, it should stay that way until it breaks it, and then you can convert, and that'll just keep it easier from a signaling standpoint, just so there's no back and forth jumping in and out of things when it's really not making a move. And that was mostly the declining 100% causes that. You have a steady zero line. The dropping 100% means price is going to catch the 100%. The question being is, how far down will it get while it does so? In this particular case, never even really captured it. These were the highs from before, and then you ended up with the peak right here. Would be this one was the high that developed right there. So just barely satisfies that range, and then you end up with the new lows. And what's interesting on those is when you have the maintaining of the 100% and lows, you have that contraction where one of the two of these is going to start to squeeze until there's a breakout, and that's what we'll be looking for, will be the breakout there. Anyway, long-winded way to just describe that, everybody's happy, and we're going to get a lot of back and forth. So volatility. That's the dream for right now. It's necessary because it's the options market that are moving prices, and you're looking for any weaknesses, given the fact that it's just kind of status quo. If there's a finalized peace deal, if the strait opens up, then maybe things change. But as it is now, I think the risk factor is still too high for a lot of people. That's the long and short of it for now. As always, trade well. Anything relevant, I'll put on the team chat.